Russia's bloody Butcher of Mariupol and a host of Kremlin poodle television executives have been added to Britain's sanctions list. Colonel General Mikhail Mizintsev, who ordered a strike on a theater that killed 300 civilians, is among 14 people and organizations hit in the latest wave of punitive economic measures unveiled by Foreign Secretary Liz Truss. The latest names added to the sanctions list include propagandist Sergey Brilev and Kremlin-funded TV-Novosti, which owns the RT News channel. Alexander Zharev, chief executive of Gazprom Media, Alexei Nikolov, the managing director of RT, and Anton Anisimov, the head of Sputnik International Broadcasting, were also sanctioned. Foreign Secretary Liz Truss said, "Putin's war on Ukraine is based on a torrent of lies. Britain has helped lead the world in exposing Kremlin disinformation, and this latest batch of sanctions hits the shameless propagandists who push out Putin's fake news and narratives." "We will keep on going with more sanctions to ramp up the pressure on Russia and ensure Putin loses in Ukraine. Nothing and no one is off the table." Advertisement. Mizintsev is facing demands for a war crimes prosecution over the attack on the theater which killed 300. Video released at the weekend showed injured civilians covered with dust filing out of the Donetsk Regional Drama Theater after it was near totally destroyed in Russian bombs aimed at building on March 16, despite a large inscription saying "children" being clearly visible on the pavement outside. In a chilling intercepted phone call, he also appeared to berate a junior officer for not cutting off the ears of a private who had been caught not wearing his uniform properly. Alexander Skurba, Ukraine's ex-Austrian ambassador, this week branded Mizintsev the Butcher of Mariupol, while Alexandra Matvievich, head of Ukraine's Center for Civil Liberties, called on him to face war charges. A Foreign Office source said, "Liz wants to keep on hitting Putin with sanctions to debilitate the Russian war economy and put Ukraine in the strongest possible negotiating position. There'll be plenty more sanctions to come." RT had its UK license revoked earlier this month by Ofcom. The TV watchdog said RT's licensee, TV-Novosti, was not fit and proper to hold a license amid 29 ongoing investigations into the due impartiality of the news and current affairs coverage of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. A statement released by the regulator at the time said, "We consider the volume and potentially serious nature of the issues raised within such a short period to be of great concern, especially given RT's compliance history, which has seen the channel fined £200,000 for previous to impartiality breaches." In this context, we launched a separate investigation to determine whether TV-Novosti is fit and proper to retain its license to broadcast. The network, which has been described as Vladimir Putin's personal propaganda tool, was previously fined £200,000 for serious and repeated breaches of impartiality rules over a string of 2018 broadcasts on the Salisbury poisonings and the Syrian war. Downing Street said the latest sanctions were a sign that we want to continue to further ratchet up the pressure on Vladimir Putin's regime. The Prime Minister's official spokesman said, "We know that countries can adapt to sanctions over time, so it's right that we keep moving forwards on this." It's equally right to place sanctions on those who are seeking to misinform people at a mass scale, and that's who the sanctions are targeted at today. Famous TV anchors on state-owned TV who push forward the falsehoods that are misleading some of the Russian people into not understanding the situation in Ukraine and some of the wanton destruction and killing of civilians that we're seeing. Asked whether the UK believes Colonel General Mikhail Mizintsev, the Butcher of Mariupol, was guilty of war crimes, the spokesman said, "I think no one can doubt in looking at what's happening in Mariupol there, on the face of it, appears to be evidence of war crimes." Formally, that is not a distinction that we can rule on. But clearly, no one can be in any doubt by looking at the situation that it is a horrific thing. Culture Secretary Nadine Dorries said, "Putin's propaganda machine has been working overdrive to spread misinformation and distract from his barbaric actions in Ukraine." These sanctions will target those who are complicit in covering up the Russian state's actions. "We will not hesitate to act further against individuals and organizations attempting to deceive people about this misguided war." UK Defence Intelligence analysts said significant shelling and missile strikes have continued around the Ukrainian city of Chernihiv, despite Russia's indications it would cut back military activity in the area. In an intelligence update, the Ministry of Defense, MOD, tweeted, "Despite Russian statements indicating an intended reduction of military activity around Chernihiv, significant Russian shelling and missile strikes have continued." Russian forces continue to hold positions to the east and west of Kyiv despite the withdrawal of a limited number of units. Heavy fighting will likely take place in the suburbs of the city in coming days. Heavy fighting continues in Mariupol, a key objective of Russian forces. However, Ukrainian forces remain in control of the center of the city. Advertisement.